All right, what's going on, everyone? You've seen the thumbnail, you've seen the video title, so you know what I'm about to show you right now. And I've been teasing you for a few weeks about my custom build project and what could it be, top secret. And today, of course, is the reveal of that project, and I am betting that I have pitched you one heck of a curveball, and I'm guessing that no one saw a build like this coming. So let's take a look at it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my electric Peewee Tribute bike that I like to call Citizen's Big E-Venture. Let's take a look. All right, it's time to see it up close. Let's take a look. There you go. This is Citizen's Big E-Venture. As far as I know, this would be the world's first electric Peewee Tribute bike. And it was a ton of fun to build this thing. I am a child of the 80s, and I probably watched that Peewee movie 200 times in a row. I just couldn't get enough of it. I thought it was the funniest thing when I was a kid. So if you've ever seen the movie, how can you not love that bike, right? And the idea of building something similar to that has been in my brain for a while now, and I've just been kind of kicking it around and figuring out how I want to do it, and eventually, came to the decision, okay, I need to do this my way. So that's why we built, instead of a movie replica bike, we've built a tribute bike, which I hope captures enough of the essence of that bike that you know what it is when you see it going down the road. And we just kind of did our own take on things. And I try to think of, if they were going to build that bike now, how would they do it? What would it look like? Well, I think they might start with a fat tire electric bike, something eye-catching and flashy. So that's what we did. This used to be a black and orange Rad Rover bike, and just completely altered and changed into the Citizen's Big E-Venture bike. And like I said, I tried to just capture enough pieces and parts that you would know and you would recognize what this is going for as you see it going down the road. So I'm going to walk us through it and just show you all the pieces up close and just kind of explain a little bit how I built it, because it's a lot of customization and just fabrication, and you have to just figure it out. So it was a gigantic exercise in problem solving, which I loved. I couldn't get enough of it. Once I get something in my brain, a project like this in my brain, I just can't let it go, and I'm obsessed with it until I finish. And this one's finally done, so let's walk through a little bit. I'll show you some of the pieces up close, describe how I built them, and of course I will link all of the stuff I used in the description in case you have the desire to do this yourself, which it's a lot of time, energy, effort, and problem solving. So I'll just say that right up front. But let's take a look. So we got our spinner here on the front. Of course, this is just a piece of plastic that I just freehand painted a swirl on there, and it's zip tied into the spokes, so not going anywhere. And we're rolling on fat tires here. We got V zigzags. These are actually pretty expensive tires. It was one of the more expensive things I purchased for this bike, but man, does it really set off the look for sure. So again, link below, but V zigzag tires, so white wall tires. Everything's been painted red. The frame, the rack, the forks, the fenders. It was a lot of work actually to do the color change from black into red. So that's probably my number one thing I would tell you if you were thinking of doing this, is start with a red bike. It's gonna save you so much work. Start with a red bike. That was my mistake right from the get-go, starting with a black bike. But I did all the paint work on this bike myself. I am not a painter whatsoever, so some pieces look great, other pieces don't. The fenders came out really well actually, and I did some pinstriping. It's just stick-on pinstriping, but it looks really sharp on there. The fenders came out great. The Delta Rocket Ray. This is one of the signature pieces, right? So I ordered this from eBay. I got just the top half. They didn't send me the bottom half. I don't know why, but I didn't end up using the bottom anyway, because I have the stock rad headlight inside there that I just basically zip tied this onto, and of course cut out the fin to put on there, and use some plastic JB weld to get the fin to stay on, and then mounting it. The headlight normally mounts right here on the top of the fork, but it was going to hit into my Megaphone up here, so I just used a GoPro mount right here to mount it to the front fender. So you got to get creative with this bike, that's for sure. So that's how we got this headlight mounted. It's pretty sturdy actually with that GoPro mount, and still functions. Of course, we have a working headlight. Now, if you know anything about that original bike, it had a siren up here on the handlebars, a big black box with the It was a tiger siren, but they had painted it yellow to look more like a lion. I could not find, I mean, they don't sell those anymore, so you can't get them. And then I couldn't find any replica ones for sale, and I couldn't find anything that even looked like it. This was the closest I could get, was this lion head I found online. Believe it or not, this is a brass door knocker. I just cut the ring out of the lion's mouth, and it was like a, you know, had a greenish patina on there, and I took a wire brush and just scraped all that off, and it turned out gold. And I was going to paint it yellow, but it looked so good with the gold, I just decided to leave it like that. So, and then inside the box here, this black box this is a PVC junction box from Lowe's that I just kind of cut the guts out of and cut a thing in the side here so I can get to my controls for my Megaphone. And inside there's a modern Megaphone, and this is functioning. This works. If I'd probably show you here really quick. Hopefully it doesn't make a loud noise when I turn it on. Let's try. All right, here we go. Test, 1, 2. So it is a functioning Megaphone. So for pieces like this where, you know, you can't buy them, you can't find copies, you just kind of have to make do with what you can find. So this was my interpretation of the lion siren on there. I've got a functioning Megaphone with the lion head on there. I think it looks pretty good. And I just mounted it right into where you would normally mount the front rack. Instead of having it on the handlebars. I didn't like having this big huge thing globbed onto the handlebars. I thought it looked a little bit cleaner like that. So that's why we chose to mount it there. And we've got our graphics, custom graphics on here. And this baby was a little challenging to do, actually. And I didn't want to have zip ties going over top of my, you know, paint job here. So I found a way to mount this without going around the frame. These screws here just basically hold. This is 2, there's 1 on each side, right? So these ones just kind of hold it, pinch this together, and then this is the one that mounts it to the bike. So it's mounted into one of the battery mounting points right there inside. I can throw up a better picture so you can see how this thing gets mounted in there. But so it's mounted here, and then these just hold it together. But it gives it a pretty clean look, actually. You don't have any straps going over the frame anywhere. I like it a lot. Now on the original bike, you've got that white kind of tank that goes here, and with this curve in here, I wasn't going to be able to replicate that tank. So instead, I just chose to, you know, do the paint job white right there to kind of simulate it. And I think it turned out pretty well. I think it looks pretty sharp as is. So we solved that issue with just the paint job. I've got my nice soft seat on here on a suspension seat post, so it's a comfy ride. And of course, you got to have the license plate. So I don't know if you can see that in there. Property of Citizen Cycle. Now, one of the more challenging pieces, actually, I could not find a chain guard to start with. So I had to make my own. This chain guard is built from scratch. This took a while to get this thing just right. So the way I did it was, this front piece is just a sheet of plastic that I cut to shape, and then to get this curve around here, I took a piece of plastic landscape edging and then just bolted this plastic to it, and then of course did a skim coat of putty Bondo over top of it to smooth out all the lines. I'll throw up pictures of what it looked like kind of as I'm manufacturing it, but it was a little challenging to get that to fit right and get templates cut and get it built and get it painted, and that was one of the longer pieces to manufacture. And I've got it bolted with this custom made bracket I had to make right into one of the bottle holder brackets there. So it's not going anywhere. It's on there nice and tight. And then the other end is just zip tied to the frame underneath there. But that was a challenging piece, but I think it came out pretty well. Now the wheel skirts went surprisingly smooth. I just started with a piece of ABS black plastic and you know, cut a cardboard template out of here to get the shape right, and then used the saber saw to, you know, cut these lines out and spray painted it white when you're done, and fit right on there perfectly. I just have it zip tied on in numerous spots, and it really adds to the effect of the bike. I think you can't not have the wheel skirts on there, right? But came out really well. Same thing on the other side as well. Just kind of did the same exact thing. This one's a little bit larger over here because you don't have the chain guard, but it looks pretty slick on there. Now up here on the handlebars, we've got our bar and mirrors and also our display screen. So I'll turn this on. This bike is running the Bolton upgrade kit for the 35 amp controller. So you have a nice color display on there, and it's got some good power. Top speed on it should be probably around 25 miles an hour, but it'll get there pretty quickly, have some good acceleration. I did change out the grips. I thought these looked a little bit more like the ones on the original bike, so changed that out. But in doing that, I lost my twist throttle and had to go to a thumb throttle, which, whatever. Not crazy about, but it gets the job done. I'll turn that back off really quick, and we'll take a look at the saddlebags. Let me come around to this side. The saddlebags were another good challenge. Obviously, they don't have the same exact shape as the original. These are motorcycle saddlebags. They were black motorcycle saddlebags that I just did a color change to red and white, added the stripe on there, and this is just kind of like peel and stick diamond plate that I thought would kind of simulate the what was on the front of that other bike. But I think it came out pretty well. It doesn't have the exact same shape, but it has a good look to it. I've got functioning tail lights inside here as well. And the way I did that was inside, let me grab the keys, I can unlock it for you. So they're just push button, really. I bought little tiny push button lights that I mounted inside where these tail lights go. See up in there? I just cut a hole in there so you can reach your finger in here and push on the tail light. And there you go. You got a working tail light. So they're all, they're not set up on the controls up front, but you can reach in there and turn them on whenever you want them on. And you can have dual tail lights, and of course the existing one that does function with the bike up there. So you'll have 3 tail lights and 1 brake light in the back, but it looks pretty slick, I think. And these are of course real, functioning saddlebags. You can put stuff in here. They're mounted on there very, very sturdy with these giant metal brackets that hold everything on, because like I said, they were meant for a motorcycle. So they're very sturdy. They're mounted right into I bolted them right into the Rad Rover rack that I bought. So they're not going anywhere. Let's close that one up. The, the original bike has kind of a trunk up here on the top, and I chose to that's where I mounted my battery. This is my battery that's been spray painted red and white to simulate the trunk that goes up there. And so your battery's hidden in plain sight essentially and function as looking like the trunk. And I just didn't want it here. I didn't want to mess up this whole area with the battery mounted there. So we had to buy a extension cable and do some soldering and wire up some plugs to get everything to stretch back here to the rear rack, but it works. It came out really well. And of course, with this being an e-bike, you've got your motor that's in the back wheel here, which you can't even really see. It's hidden kind of by the saddlebags and everything. So you wouldn't even really know this bike is an electric bike. Really only thing you can see that sticks out would be the controller right here, but the battery kind of blends right in and you can't really see the motor. So I guess the display screen would give it away, but that's pretty minimal up there. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. What do you think of the world's first electric Peewee bike here? I had so much fun building it. I really hope you guys have a lot of fun watching this video. I can't wait to take this thing out for a ride. It is Halloween. Today is Halloween. I'm filming this on Halloween, and I was rushing to get this thing done so I could take it out for a ride. I haven't ridden it yet. I'm excited to do that. All right, well, if you got any questions on this bike or how I was able to manufacture, any specific piece or something like that, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to try to answer those. And as far as the cost of this thing, I have no idea. I haven't even sat down to try to figure out how much money I spent on this. It was probably a good amount. There were some expensive pieces on it. The upgrade kit's like 200 bucks. The tires were, I think, almost to 200-ish. I mean, even this little piece right here was like 60 bucks. The saddlebags were cheap, actually. They were only like $85, but there's just little odds and ends of pieces you got to buy to keep the project rolling. So I'm sure it added up to a good amount. I'll try to add it on the screen as I'm editing the video. But if you're gonna attempt something like this, number one, I told you before, start with a red bike. That'll make things so much easier. And I would say give yourself a few months to knock this out, and make sure you have a very understanding significant other, because I spent a lot of time out in the man cave, and I know the wifey is happy that this baby is finally done. So only one thing left to do now, and that is to take it for a ride. So let's go do that. And of course, there is only one proper way to ride this bike. Let's go. So getting out on the bike for the first time was absolutely amazing. So good to have that project complete and to be able to get out and just ride and enjoy the bike. This isn't going to be just a Halloween bike. I plan on taking this thing out as much as I can and maybe take it to some local events, let people see it, hopefully put some smiles on their faces. And on Halloween, I was only able to really get out and ride the bike for maybe 15 minutes or so around town, but even during that short time, I had people yelling out to me and was able to capture some on tape, so here's a look at those.
Killed it, man.
Thanks. What is going on?
Sorry, man.
That's all right.
You look fresh too, bro.
Thanks.
Is it costume or is it normal?
That's my costume. I'm Peewee.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see that.
Thanks.
That's a nice bike, Peewee.
Thank you. That guy said, that's a nice bike, Peewee Herman. This thing rides pretty good. I might just make it my daily driver. All right, well, we had a successful first ride on the bike. Nothing was falling off or breaking or scraping anywhere. It was a really smooth ride. I'm a little surprised at how smooth it was riding. Nothing was even really rattling on it. So I just may have to make this bike my daily driver. We'll see. And I even had a few folks yelling out to me as I rode by, acknowledging and appreciating the bike. So appreciate you guys. And let me know what you think. Did you enjoy this build project? Let me know in the comments if you want to see more builds like this one. And if you enjoyed watching this one, do me a favor, give me a like, give me a share, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. There was a couple of people that yelled at me.
Yelled at you? Why?
Just, hey, Peewee.
Oh.
Some guy over on the side street there on his porch. Yeah, he was like, that is a nice bike, Peewee Herman. I don't know if I got it on tape.